blockbuster and real, but in a cinematic, beautiful way. It's like the Holy Grail. When you say to someone, okay, we don't want to do this the normal way, we want to do it back to front. So we want to go shoot, imagine it's all there, and then do it in post. I think everyone sees the sense in that. Because like, the way I would pitch it to people is like, say a budget for a movie is normally, you know, a big movie, say, is normally this much. And then what they always do is they keep about that much as a safety net, as like a little insurance, like backup. Like, let's go make the movie with this. Right? And have this as the backup insurance.
But somehow, we had to convince the studio. So it's a sort of location scout, but it was also a proof of concept. They backed us in giving us some money to say, okay, you guys go and look for these locations. What they didn't know was that Gareth wanted to shoot constantly while we were on the road, so that we could later present to them to say, hey, look, this is 2 guys on the road with maybe 3 or 4 cases of equipment, and this is what we can produce. He basically cherry-picked all the most beautiful places in Southeast Asia. I mean, it's absolutely mind-blowing and simultaneously incredibly hard work, because Gareth, who is, you know, a workaholic, wanted to shoot every single dawn, every single dusk. The one cardinal rule for Gareth is that you can never, ever be in a van or any moving vehicle at that time of day.
Lee, Lee's the template name.
It was just Disney World for like cinematography. Shot loads and loads of material. Had a little prosumer drone, like a 2 or 3 grand drone, and a 2 or 3 grand camera. We went on this crazy shoot, me and Jim, for about a month. Went to all these amazing places. I shot loads and loads of footage. It was like a dream. It wasn't a story or anything, but made this sort of textural piece that was about 8 minutes long. Just look at the distance, and there's a ship, a little light, ships coming into land. And then we start to hear the city like, and then went to ILM, showed them it, and said, look, please, 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 this will help get the film greenlit. Can we try and prove that this methodology works?
Suddenly we just had this huge landscape, but with these kind of interesting faces and characters in it as well. The magic of ILM turning some of them into simulants, you know, turning them into robots of some form or another. So you suddenly have a guy on a moped who's whizzing along with a robot head unexpectedly. In terms of the studio, it had the right reaction, shall we say.
was to look at the locations through the lens of exactly the way Gareth would want to shoot them, to show that it could be done without a huge unit. And I think also to demonstrate how the robots and AI characters in the story would look and feel, and how they would be seamlessly interwoven into these beautiful, real settings.
What happens in a normal movie is, say you've got a futuristic city, what happens is they build the whole city in 3D because they're paranoid that the director is going to change their mind and want to see it over here, or then suddenly see something different. So he built the whole thing as for a safety net, you know. And it was like, no safety net. Like, we know it's this shot. We're never going to see it from any other angle. We're going to paint what that city looks like. And then if you just go in and make it look real as a painting and then project it onto simple 3D, so it's just got a bit of parallax, so there's a bit of three-dimensionality to it, like, that would be good enough, that'll work. And you can feel like, you know, like, we don't, there's like a big resistance because it's not how movies are made. Like, it's like a cheap thing to do. But I think it's a better result. And so we just went through with it, you know, really good to us. And they were like, okay, let's try it.
It really gave everyone a sense of the deeply cinematic nature of what he was planning and imagining. And that did allow us to accelerate forward, and I think really led towards the green lighting of the movie.
Early on, it was like, okay, we're going to shoot in all these different countries. And then because of the pandemic, it kind of really hurt the ability to do that. And so we picked Thailand as our hub because, you know, firstly, they have amazing crews there that can work with us, but also it's quite an amazing country in terms of the diversity of locations that you can find. The idea was, okay, let's not go with a big crew. Let's just go to these amazing places, just take the actors with us and the minimum people possible, shoot this stuff, and then paint over that frame with the science fiction element.
So everyone is running, and probably as part of this at the start. I don't know if we have any civilians or anything.
We do have civilians.
Feeling a bit of flow of people running across the bridge. It's like, come on, come on, come on, right? And then suddenly they'll be like, missile, 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 like, right? And the civilians who are running, everybody like stops and looks like, oh shit, right? And we think, oh no. The missiles go up in the air and then they come down and they bounce on the bridge and in the boats. And then they just go, they don't explode, they just release lots and lots of smoke. Like, oh shit.
It was a beautiful thing to be stood on a real bridge in a real location with real people. Like, the only thing you had to imagine was that guy was going to be a robot, not a guy. And you sort of realize that people aren't ever really seeing the film that you're seeing in your head whilst you're filming.
I think one of the strongest elements of the way that he shot this movie was that there's a realism and a naturalism that comes through with not putting someone in the gray pajamas, not putting someone against green screen.
Okay.
To his credit, I think Gareth chose that if we shot everyone in traditional costumes, then we would be able to pick and choose later. And the ones that we elected to turn into simulants or robots or whatever, those were people that were the right people you're looking at the right time.
Come back.
When you look at a film that's going to be driven digitally, rather than building sets, it's going to be more like painting over footage, then you really want a production designer who is at their heart a concept artist, like a great concept artist.
So, skin, different levels of skin, different. It's
Different widths or depths.
For me as a designer, that's where I really find the real excitement of the project, being able to almost experiment in a lab kind of thing and kind of blow things up. And by doing that, you find little bits and pieces that you wouldn't have done had you just tried to stay like a single line.
It was quite a process to nail the look of the simulants. And I did push it up to the last second, probably uncomfortably so, because, you know, once we locked into that look, the movie's going to live and die based on your response to seeing Alfie and the other simulants.
He doesn't want to drill down too quickly into the nuts and bolts of things. He likes to kind of explore and find things. So we kept on trying to keep things alive and thinking about different directions we can take and really holding that process as long as we could.
What was really difficult was that fine line of you want to know when you look at that person that they're not human, but you do too much to them and you don't feel anything. We found that connecting the throat down into the body, you feel more empathy for that person. I think it's an instinct. You're seeing something that's been separated from the body versus like, oh, this is someone who just looks different. I was paranoid we weren't doing enough because from the front, apart from the ears are missing, but sometimes even with hair, you can't tell that. I get paranoid, like, God, should we push this more? But then you get a real reward when they turn to the side and you just go, whoa.
Don't grip. Don't touch it. Who's first to get in the boat? Yeah, no.
Like,
whose number? Yeah.
Like if I should go first? Or...
JD go first? Or...
I think it's your boat.
Okay.
So maybe you go first.
And up to something?
Yeah. Come on. Just go on, and then you're like...
Go before it's too late.
And then you head off, fight.
Yeah.
Just feel like a...
Obviously, there are actors that are reading lines, and it's a script that everybody knows the arc and the character arc and the story. But from a technical standpoint, from a crewing standpoint, and from an equipment standpoint, we had to treat it like it was a documentary in order to be able to kind of properly give Gareth and his actors the bubble that they needed to be able to kind of make the film that they wanted to.
And 3, 2, 1, action!
When people say a documentary style in terms of drama, what they're really referring to, I think, is a much more organic, reactive approach.
If you're not operating and the actor suddenly moves, the person operating has to make a choice, but they're not the filmmaker, so they're trying to guess what the director would want. If that happened, does he just want me to pan or does he want me to move around? And they've got to make the decision kind of in half a second, else they'll lose the shot. It's so hard for that person to be perfectly in sync with the director's brain. And so it was always the intention, like, I'm going to operate because it's just easier that way.
Gareth sees the world through a viewfinder, through that lens. It was like, why wouldn't he operate the whole film if that was going to give him the best result?
Because the idea was for it to be spontaneous, we didn't want to have a traditional shot list. We wanted him to be able to react to things. He's very good at finding good frames. He just has a natural instinct to that and good taste.
I just felt like if I operated, then I can't tell anyone off. I'll just do what's instinctive to me and just go with your gut about things, and I won't get annoyed with anyone because it'll always be my fault if it's not right, if I screw up because I gambled and moved the camera and suddenly we lose a performance moment or something.
3, 2, 1, action! Oh, hey, 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 hey!
Joshua?
Hey, no. No, no, hey, 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 stop! Shit! Taylor, we gotta move, come on. Taylor, what the hell happened there, man? You went soft. Soft! Let's go.
Very good, cut.
Come on.
I'd say it's almost like a coach or a trainer asking you to do a drill, and he does it too. It just felt like we were truly like in it together, literally, because we're in these holes or these weird spots, or he's literally, one time he was over me and like sweat dripping from him to my temple and on down. I was like, Jesus Christ, like we are in it now. I've been able to get the stench off since, so thanks.
Because it all happens at once, so we're kind of confused. Was the red light from being shot, or like this getting hit? Like let it be the alarm, and then boom, 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 boom. Okay.
No, stop, no, 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 no!
Gareth's style of shooting is very enjoyable for actors, I think, but difficult. You know, it has the huge scale of a sci-fi action epic, but his preferred method is to block an entire sequence over an hour, so we know exactly what's going to happen.
So I'm going over there to kill him, right?
Yeah,
so like,
yeah.
all right, he's seen us.
Well, we can take him with us. Hostage.
Maya, go get your things. I've done this before. Calm. Go, we gotta move. Come on.
And then what you need to do, so everyone understands that you were going to kill him. You know, like they don't do that, but they're going to, they don't want it to go back in their face.
He's following our performances as opposed to making us serve a shot like a bag of meat. Feels like he's shooting a documentary and we're living this life.
Stand by, another rehearsal, please. Here we go.
Hostage.
I've done this before. Calm.
Ready? And action!
You have to be on your toes with the way that Gareth shoots, and it's good that way. You have to just always be on and always in character and just completely immersed in the scene, and things move very, very quickly.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1, action!
I relish the idea of just exploring spaces and moving around like that, not focusing too much on marks. Sort of getting rid of some of that stuff actually means that you can overstep and be more alive, and it's interesting.
No, please, don't do it.
Go upstairs. All right, get your things. What the hell are you doing here, True? You gotta blow my cover. Nirvana's not here.
Nirvana. Filmmaker.
Joe, we had a deal.
You okay? You great? Good?
I'm totally good.
We'll do a scene and he'll go back to the beginning, start over, do it again, and he'll just keep filming and keep filming.
We do it again and again and again and again and again and again from multiple different angles, often without cutting, often without resetting makeup and stuff.
Nee! We hadden hem.
Stand behind me. Stand behind me. Stand behind me.
I like the way you can roll into sarcasm
straight
when there's like the behind the scenes.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, he's like this all the time. Oh, okay, we're doing the sarcastic.
It's a bit. It's a bit. It's not a bit. Come here. Before your head melts. But get behind me. Yeah. I don't want to see you in my eye line. Yeah. I've talked to Gareth. Go. Talk. Go. All right, fine. I can do this.
That's all right. It's going to distract you.
No, it's too colonial. Go.
It's going to get you out of character.
There's too much bamboo and people holding umbrellas.
He just keeps going. I mean, and he has this stare of like, I'm not bothered at all. He doesn't seem like it's bothering him ever. So if he ever had any pain or suffering, I can't tell. He masks it well. So that's encouraging to know too. Like I can't be in pain if he's not. How's it go? Tell me, how's it go? Go ahead.
How do you get this picture reference?
Where is my wife?
Picture reference?
I think it's
and see.
All right, I can see you now.
I remember doing one take, and at the end, Jordan, the boom operator, went, well, that was a record. And I went, what? And he's like, 25 minutes. And he was like, what? And he was like, you were filming for 25 minutes. And I was like, bullshit. Like, really? Like, to me, it felt like 3 minutes.
All right, and the roll play. Everyone. Action!
Even if I've got some feedback, I don't stop. And I just say the feedback without saying cut. And then no one comes in, no one interrupts anything, and you just carry on. And I really like that. I think that's exciting and efficient.
It's the worst experience of my life. I can't wait to go home. I'm just kidding. This is actually one of the best experiences I've ever had. Gareth, the Zen master, Phil Jackson himself, I mean, look where we are. I don't know if you can see right now, it's kind of dark, but, and the people here, this crew he's assembled. I mean, this never happens. Like where everybody's just together, humble, you know, and at the ready, wanting to do this for the story. I never felt more comfortable. I mean, I'm in love with this process. I'm in love with his process. It's incredible. My body hates me, but that's okay. Small sacrifice.
What happens is you get in the zone. I don't know what anyone else feels, but when I'm filming, I'm not there. I'm in the cinema, like 2 years from now, and I'm sat watching the movie. And as I'm sat watching it, every time I'm going, oh, do that, or go there, or have that, all the thoughts I'm having as an audience member in that cinema, I'm just trying to react to it and do whatever it is. So I'm in a trance, like I don't feel time, and the camera doesn't weigh a thing. It felt like a lot of times where you'd stand there and look around and go, we look like a student film. It looks like there's just 3 of us and this actor. And there wasn't. There was probably 100 people hidden around the corner.
Someone like Gareth doesn't need all the bells and whistles. And in fact, I think subconsciously that stresses him. You know, I think subconsciously that kind of affects his ability to be free with the camera. So for me, the idea of starting from a place of small equipment, less people. It starts from Gareth and what he needs as a director to tell the story properly.
The objective with the camera rigs was to create something that Gareth could handheld operate for extended periods of time without getting fatigued, but also with retaining as much control as possible and as much flexibility as possible.
The stick gimbal, you're supposed to hold like a lollipop, and I hate it. And so I basically put it on its side, and so I could put it under my shoulder and hold it more like in a more ergonomic way, because then I could hold it all day long. Because holding something like this all day long is like holding a weight out in front of you.
The goal originally was to shoot as much of it on this gimbal as we could. So we needed to be able to configure it so that while he was filming, if he was feeling that maybe this angle wasn't working very well, he could, while still in the middle of a take rolling, shift it down and then kind of reposition his grip in order to still be able to retain control over the gimbal. And so we set it up so that he could really hold it at any height, including all the way down on the ground. We would always pick the lightest weight stuff possible. That was probably the biggest factor in deciding the camera, was the weight and size.
With the FX3, particularly at this point in time for this film, it was like a light bulb moment when we tested that camera and realized that it definitely did have a little bit of grain to it, but that grain was visually very interesting.
Basically, they took all the color science from their higher end camera they had that they make feature films with. They put it in this kind of prosumer camera that you can buy in the shops. And it was like, perfect, this is it.
It sort of opened up the options for dusk shooting, for night shooting, for city shooting. It opened up a lot of options for us.
Gareth knew that he wanted to shoot anamorphic, so then the question was, okay, what is the lightest weight vintage anamorphic lens out there that had the aesthetic look that he was after? So they found the Kowa 75 millimeter.
Basically, it's not perfect. If you look at the edges, it's not in focus and things like this. And I love that. That's kind of what a painting does. Beautiful paintings, they've not got detail everywhere. Like a great image says, look at this, not this, this. And a great lens, I think, will do that. It'll go, don't look at this, look at this.
It wasn't too wide, it wasn't too long, you could do the bulk of a film on, but it wasn't too heavy or too hand-built.
Get up. Find stuff.
I think the biggest philosophical guideline in terms of the visual approach to this film was around this idea of how do you make something artificial feel organic, or how do you make something staged feel spontaneous? And Greg and Gareth described it as this razor's edge that you're always chasing. And on one side of that edge is something that is too perfect and too artificial, too lit, too designed. And when you are on that side of the edge, when an image looks 100% perfect, it feels fake. But on the other side of that razor is uncurated, and it's just raw, rough. There's no beauty to it. And we still wanted the film to be beautiful and to look cinematic. So finding that razor's edge was the whole game of the shoot.
Can it go now?
With my hand? Okay. And a 1. And a 2. No, not stuck. But let's try another angle. If I try another angle.
very good, guys. Well done. Okay, and cut.
Classical filmmaking is really slow because every time you move the camera, all the lights have to move around. And it's like this dance that happens all day long and it takes forever and you need a massive crew.
If we could walk into any location and not light anything and just shoot available light and found locations, we would.
We wanted 360 because if the actors moved around, we could move around. So we were thinking like, okay, why don't we have someone with a pole, right? That's like the boom guy, who as I move around and the actors move around, they just move around.
We changed the lighting to a point where every light's on a switch or on a dimmer. We might pre-light a location so that everything goes back to a dimming board.
It was great because it was instantly relit, you know, whatever you did. And it would like, and now it looks good. And now it looks good.
It was important that the lighting represented an urban environment and not a film environment. If we can give the audience less and less reason to disbelieve and know the environment that they're in, I think the more success the visuals of the film will have. It is a definite challenge building these worlds from scratch because they've not existed before. You're not making part of a franchise that has preceding stories or stories that exist after it. It's tough, but you know what's exciting about it is that you get to make it up and no one can tell you that you're wrong either.
I basically lent on a lot of friends from the other films I'd made and was like, can you do some images? So all these images started to trickle in. And so I ended up with like, it's too many images.
We wanted a used universe more than anything. We wanted something that felt that you could walk around a corner and you could see this new world, but it still felt grounded, it still felt earthly.
As it came towards the end of filming, I was like, oh, I'll do anything. I've got to hang on to dear life to do the other countries and just grab things. Even if it's just a day, I'll pay, I'll do anything. Like, just got to go for like a few days in each country. It'll pay dividends, it'll look amazing. But everything was winding down with production and everyone was being like, going off to other things. It's kind of going to be a new crew to some extent.
I mean, it's like we're gonna go full Terrence Malick style. I have no idea. He's just like, oh, thanks for going. I'm like, yeah, I'll go. And I have no idea what we're gonna shoot. This is my first time going on a plate shoot. Jesus Christ, I have no idea. I'm very excited though.
There was a guy who agreed to shave his head to be a monk. A couple of guys did that for us, and they agreed to play the characters. It's kind of a surreal thing to ask people, like, do you want to be in a sci-fi movie? Look at it, it's just this camera. This can't be, you know, anything special. It's not like a big movie came to town and got rid of everybody and set up all these sets and things.
Let me take her to mine.
What's your luck, side deck now?
Yeah. Okay.
You wait here.
Mostly it was just find beautiful moments and beautiful things, and we will find maybe a place where they live in the movie. It's just the icing on the cake. And it was also fulfilling something in me where I really wanted this film to have that edge about it that feels real.
Fourth time we've done this. This time it's
get it right this time.
For real, really for real. This is a picture app for the amazing human being who is John David Washington, aka Joshua.
I got nothing. I love this job. It's been a life-changing experience. It's a beautiful country. It's been a beautiful experience. Do it again.
I know we shot in more locations in Thailand than any movie has ever shot in Thailand. And so going into making the film, it was like, this is going to be hard. I don't know, it was a very grounding experience, like that feeling of going off to war at a certain age and just diving into some terrible experience, but you're going to come out of it a better person. It was kind of that kind of experience, I think, that was on offer. I think JD led the way with the attitude. He really wanted to dive into this crazy place and just suck it up.
It was a major impact on my life and how I see films being made. And this guy I'm playing, you know, he's carrying a lot of stuff, a lot of guilt, a lot of PTSD, a lot of trauma. And sometimes I can tend to overthink things, and I can tend to like really inhabit the character to where it's like I'm taking it home with me from time to time. But as much as I try to stay in it, it was easy to relax and get out of it every time I go home to, you know, in Bangkok or some of these temples I got to visit. You just inherit, once you're there, the peace that the country brings. So it was one of the best experiences I've ever had in my life.
I look back now and I'm just like, can you imagine if we didn't have Madeleine? Do you know what I mean? Like, can you imagine this movie without her?
She's a special human being, that Maddie, and she's extremely talented, present, and well beyond her years. I think she's been here before, you know, that spirit of hers.
I won't play anymore.
I didn't know how it was going to work out, chemistry-wise, to be honest, but I know she's fearless, and you can't get a cheap laugh out of her. You got to earn every laugh you get from her. And I feel like you know you're doing well when she starts hitting you and pinching you and stuff like that, and kicking you and whatever. So that's when I knew we were on the right track.
on, man.
As long as I kill her after.
That's your wife? Mm-hmm. I'd do anything for just one more minute. I mean, I'd give anything.
You see what's on the heads of this shot? Is the shot you take it easy, right? Yeah. You can just see how he reacts when she first asks him. There's a nice little thing he does, right? Just go straight into it.
We have been so many places, and we shot for a long time as well. And so, sort of just the editing itself is a feat.
What happens when you make film is whilst you're filming, back home the editor is doing what's called an assembly. They just kind of put it together as the script said, and then you spend the next 6 months or year finessing and refining and making that edit the best it can be. But that initial assembly was like nearly 5 hours long. The main game of editing this film was removing things in such a way that the story didn't collapse. And so it's like trying like a game of Jenga where you're pulling pieces out. Does it still make sense? Does it still work? And it's just been quite difficult exercise to get it down to 2 hours.
I was very lucky I got to work with one of my heroes, Hank Corwin and Scott Morris, who shaped the film over a marathon 10 months period. It was a kind of monumental effort.
A lot of shots have to be signed off very early. The key part of the process is being able to say, these are the shots I'm committing to. I know 100% these shots are going to be in the movie. And then it means that you're constantly trying to feed the VFX machine.
Oh, there's a lot of visual effects in this film. I think in total we're somewhere around 1,800. Every plate footage of an environment you see is probably going to be modified in one way or the other. Every main character that is a simulant is also modified with their headgear.
The amount we're trying to get through is certainly quite daunting, especially when we want to make sure we're being sympathetic and buying into this whole design aesthetic and getting it looking wonderful.
Was this a roto nightmare?
I think a roto and paint semi-nightmare, yeah. Looking in the direction of our team, yeah.
You can tell the roto artists they can see their family again now. You should video all those family reunions.
Gareth, do you want to see this again, or shall we sort of hit those notes as we go through?
No, you can take it to VFX heaven.
Great. That we will. All right. Brilliant.
To get through all this work, you need a process, right? You can't treat everything in its own unique way. It needs to get a bit more like, not kind of like a factory in a way.
Oof, that looks like he's getting hit hard.
Would you take credit for all Sydney's work?
I do it every day. Is it connecting? Yep. Key looks good. Okay, just a couple of little tech things and then call it good, yeah? Awesome. Next.
That was the two I loaded.
Oh, that's it? All right, that's the end of our scene, I guess. All right. All of these tasks are difficult and time-consuming and require hours of care. It's an artist-forward passion project.
What's kind of fun is that Gareth had a bit more flexibility by perhaps not using the heaviest camera rigs, which I think really helped in terms of capturing some of these great angles. And there's plenty of grain in the image. The lens kit is perhaps not the most precise, but there's personality in there.
Technically, it's a hard job to do from a visual effects standpoint. It's a really tough job to take the camera at a high ISO that might be a little bit noisy, that's been shot with a little bit more reckless abandon, and I say that in a positive way, than most films, and to take the visual effects work on that and embrace it and run with it. I think they've done an amazing job.
So Dave, just go back a few shots. For example, this one here, is I wouldn't necessarily light that side up because it's too bright there. I'd lift this part up. I'd keep that where it was, then just lift that. Again, knowing that instantly what the focus of the shot is her, right? So I would keep up there where it was.
Yeah, we're going to
lift her up a little bit.
Yeah.
The most important thing about the grade is that we achieved this vintage, sort of retro film look to the movie and to feel like a 1970s film.
A big part of the aesthetic conversations that Greg, Gareth, and I were having early on was how do you make something artificial feel organic with digital technology? And there's all these plugins and post-processes that you can do digitally in order to achieve similar goals. Like you can add film grain and add dirt on the image and halation and all these other aesthetic elements of celluloid that people like. The end result will be really cool.
Welcome to the future of robotics. Let them help you. Chores around the house, there isn't anything they can't do.
The movie was originally made as an allegory for like things that are different from us, like the other. But it weirdly, as we were making this film, AI has gotten better and better. And it feels like we're at that tipping point now where it's here. The Pandora's box has been opened.
We have given independent thought and life to robots by studying the human brain.
It was not as prevalent when Gareth wrote the script, and certainly when we were filming, as it is now 1 year later. But as the film's coming out, it's sort of dovetailing into this really interesting, broader conversation about AI and the future of that technology that I think is really interesting too.
I don't know if I'm convinced that we'll get to a point where we have fully sentient AI personalities that are enough to fool human beings, but we're getting close. I've seen some pretty dodgy videos of robots on the internet trying to emote, and I think I'm doing a better job than they are.
They drive our cars. They are our civil servants.
But there's a lot about this future that is believable, politically for sure.
Just really like the idea of a character that gets thrown into a situation and through their journey to get home, sees it from the other perspective. Imagine you had a massive prejudice against a certain group, and then you get thrown into the midst of that group and have to live with them or get out of there, like find a way out alive. How does that change you? Like, what do you witness? What goes on there that affects your prejudice against those people?
The importance of empathy is emphasized, but it doesn't force it upon you. In this case, you know, you see these characters that you can empathize with, but you can also judge. There's equal opportunities to do both with these characters, and it's not as simple as I side with this person, I side with that person. As an audience member, I think this film will challenge how you empathize with something or with someone.
No! Don't!
It's okay. It's okay. I'm going to heaven.
No!
I'll meet you there.
No! No!
I'm going because of you.
I don't want you to go!
We really went for broke. We really went to the Himalayas. We really went to Indonesia and Japan and Cambodia and Thailand and did these massive, crazy spectacle set pieces.
You see magic on screen. You see spontaneous, interesting, compelling, organic, unartificial cinema.
It could not be, and it did not want to be, too polished. It was critical that it landed in that world of believability and connection with the audience.
You've got a very unique process, unlike anything I've ever experienced. There's already way too many shitty movies, and we need more films that feel lived in and raw and human.
I don't think anyone's ever seen anything like this before. There are all these special effects and everything, but at the heart of it is a beautiful story.
Inside of a science fiction world, what dominates is the characters and the relationships and what people learn.
Science fiction should always have some meat on the bone. What questions is it provoking about something important in the real world?
It is really exciting to think that you could approach movie making in a completely different way.
The more you can make movies for less money, the more freedom you get, the more risks you can take, and therefore hopefully films can become more interesting.
The most important thing is to tell your story. It doesn't have to be expensive, it's about the choices. Those choices are determined by your creative point of view and your process.
It's this new way of approaching things, doing things completely differently with technology that never existed before. Go do stuff with that. Go change everything, like break the rules. Go make it all on your own terms with how you think a movie should be made.